every time that I'm messing around with the sewer tanks, I always like to put on gloves. Sometimes it gets on you, sometimes not. In this case, nothing should be getting on me, but got them just in case. So what we've got is we've got our Blackwater flush hose, which is specifically just for rinsing out the black water. What I do is I connect this to the spigot, and then I have many rigs will have another connection that says black tank, and what you'll do is you'll connect the hose into there, and inside of your black tank it's got a sprayer, and it actually will wash down the walls inside of your tank. So I'm going to go ahead and get this hooked up just because I like to have it ready, and I always, when I'm storing them, I always connect the two ends together so any water that was still inside of the pipe doesn't end up leaking inside of my storage. So I'm going to hook this up. This campsite was handy, and it came with two hoses, or two water connections. Make sure you don't cross thread anything, that's always bad. So it's connected there, and I just run this up here. And like I said, we're going to connect it into the black tank connection here. Hold it up there. Kind of feels like you're twisting this backwards, but you're not. So
to the left, counterclockwise.
Correct, in this case. Okay, so now it's time to start emptying the tanks. And what we're going to do is, the first thing you're going to do is you're going to empty the black tank. You always want to do the black tank first, because you want to get all of the nasty stuff out of there first. And some of that's going to probably collect inside of the pipe. So you want to make sure that you've got the gray water, which is much cleaner, to flush it out afterwards. So here we go. What I'm going to do is I'm going to pull this lever here, and then you'll start seeing it coming out of the drain over here. So I pull the lever, and here it comes. All right.
Yuck.
Yes, that's pretty nasty there.
Yucky.
So it's doing its job, and that's what this clear valve is for, is to help us see when it's empty, and B, after I'm flushing it out, lets me know that I've got everything cleaned out. All right, so we're going to pause for just a moment while this is doing its thing. All right, the black tank is virtually empty at this point, and so what I'm going to do is I'm going to start flushing it out. I'm going to now turn on the water into our black tank flush system, which has got little sprayers inside which will spray down the walls inside. And right now I still got the valve open. That's all good. And
Yes, run, Timmy. Okay.
and I just crank that thing up full blast. All right, and it's spraying. And now I'm going to close the tank, because I'm also going to let the water accumulate in there. All right, so this is now spraying water inside of our black tank and cleaning out any of the stuff that's in there. You know, when you're using your commode, it all goes to the same exact spot, and that's called pyramiding if you let it sit there and let it dry out. So you want to make sure that it never has a chance to dry out. So after you empty it, you want to make sure that you flush it and rinse it out. And then once you're done with all of that, you'll want to make sure that there's a little bit more water in there so it can slosh around when you're driving. But we'll cover that a little bit later. Anyway, so I'm filling this up with, I'm letting it spray down and fill up with a little bit more water. So I've been spraying the black tank down for a little bit now, and so there's going to be a couple of gallons in there. And what we're going to do is I'm going to pull the black tank again, because you're going to do this a couple of times generally. So we're going to pull the lever here, and you'll see that when the water starts flowing out, you see it's still dirty. And that's why you do this flush and do this rinsing, because you want to get all that dirty stuff out.
Yeah, because emptying it isn't enough.
Emptying it is not enough. You actually got to do a cleaning. And short of actually running a brush down inside of the tank, you know, this spray is the next best thing. So what we're going to do is I'm going to let this empty out, and I still got the water running. I'm going to close this up again in just a second after this slows down just a little bit, and I'm going to let it fill up with a few more gallons of water so I can let it run out again so I can see just how well we're cleaning it out. All right, we'll be right back. Okay, we've got a couple more gallons of water have gone into the black tank. What we're doing is the rinse. This is now the second rinse that we've done. Generally, the second rinse will be good enough for when you're still camping. If you're going to put your camper in storage, you may want to do it a third time, but let's take a look at what's going on. So now I've still got the water running. I'm going to go ahead and pull the lever. What that's going to do is that's going to release all the water that I've put in there, and it'll start draining out again. And it should be getting pretty clear. So we'll take a look at that.
Yeah,
Sure
it
enough.
is fairly clear.
Not too shabby. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to shut off the water now that's going into the sprayer and let it empty out the rest of the way. So let me shut that off. All right. So the water's now off, and you don't want to disconnect this yet. Okay. You want to leave it connected until your water has drained down a little bit and you've got your valve closed. It's really important that you wait for that. You don't want to make that mistake. I've made that mistake. Hence the gloves. Sometimes you make mistakes. All right. So make sure that you leave everything connected. You're paying attention to the water still coming out. And once this gets down, we're going to shut it off and go to the next step of emptying the gray tanks. Okay, I've got most of the water all drained out of the black tank after the flush. I'm now closing the valve, and now I can disconnect the hose. Got the water turned off over the spigot, so I can now unscrew this, and just a little bit of water comes out. Just that's from the pressure from the hose, and then you make your connection. That's really sucked.
That was quite a bit of water.
That was quite a bit of water.
That's okay.
That's all right.
That's what editing is for.
That's right. Okay.
Go ahead.
All right. So now we've got the black tank cleaned out. Remember, I told you to save the gray tanks for the last. And here's the reason why. You notice when we were doing the black tank, it was nice and clear the last time. Now watch when I open up the gray tank. I'll open one up here and then take a look at this pipe here. And remember, this is the cleaner gray water. You notice how brown that was right at the very beginning?
That's from the pipe,
Right.
not this.
So I've now opened both of the gray water tanks. So you notice that both of the valves are
Both valves. I didn't know you could do that.
right. Yes, you've got them both open, and now they're both draining out here. Now we've got we have two tanks. Each tank holds approximately 40 gallons. And we had one that was halfway full, and the other one that was 2/3, 3/4, pretty close. So bottom line is we had probably 60 gallons of water just sitting inside of our tanks, and I might want to take another shower tonight. So I got to make sure the tank is empty. Anyway, so it's going to take a little bit for this to empty out the rest of the way, but what's happening is this cleaner water now is flushing out anything that may have gotten stuck in the hose. That's a good thing, because you still have to handle that hose and carry it with you to the next place you go, and you don't want to carry any of that stuff with you.
No, I saw someone actually trying to wash their pipe out by hand and hang it to dry, and that's just not pleasant.
Yeah, that's
No.
really not that's probably not the way you want to do things. You may have
No.
seen somebody do it that way. No,
Yeah.
trust me, this is way better.
Yeah, I saw that and I'm like, they need to watch our video. Yeah.
Exactly.
So,
All right, and yet trust me, we've learned from mistakes.
yes, but not that one.
Right. All right, we're gonna pause and come back when this is empty.
Okay.
All right, the The water is basically down to a trickle, so I can now close off my gray tanks. I'm going to close them both off. And we're still going to be camping here, so at this point for the outside, we're done. The last thing that we need to do, now that we've emptied our tanks, is we'll go inside and we'll put a toilet, there's a treatment capsule that we have for your septic, and you'll drop that inside of the tank. We'll show you that in just a second.
Okay, these are the drop-ins that we use after we've emptied the black tank. We come inside and drop one of these in the toilet and flush it down, and it helps keep the black tank fresh, helps it stay clean. It just makes everything a little nicer. I'll show you how. So you just, I don't recommend dropping them because it splashes. And then you flush and let some water run. Okay, and it'll dissolve.
Okay, a lesson learned video here. The very first time that we ever rented a motorhome, you know, I know nothing about it, totally naive to the whole RV thing. And so when I rented it, you know, the guy's got to show you how everything works. And he showed me how to empty the tanks, because you have to empty them. You got to make sure to bring them back clean, right? So what he did at the dealership, if anybody does this, you can smack him. But what he did is he showed me where the levers were. In this case, with that RV, they were kind of underneath, so he really had to show me where to grab the lever. And what he did is he pulled the lever out, and he says, "Yep, that's what you need to do, is you pull that lever out, and that'll open up the tank." And then he went ahead and closed it. Now, remember I told you, you want to make sure to leave a little bit of water in there, and you want to make sure that it sloshes around a little bit. Now also, it's a rental. Probably isn't the cleanest. You know, people aren't, it's not like it's your own rig, so people don't treat it like their own.
Probably didn't get flushed.
Probably didn't get flushed. So here I am. I'm at this campsite. We're near the Grand Canyon. Hence the gloves. Okay, you know, so I always wear the gloves when I'm doing this part of it.
You weren't then.
I wasn't then. Now, when you go to hook up to do the dump, you take that cap off, and there's always a little bit of liquid in there. Well, the guy had pulled the lever, so what he did is all the water that was left in the tank had now filled up that entire piece of pipe full of nasty, in this case, very blue water. Okay, so I'm at the campsite, and I'm gonna hook up the hose, and I'm remembering all of my lesson. Okay, it's time to unscrew that cap. I unscrew that cap, and probably a gallon and a half of this nasty blue water just dumps all over me. So I got now blue hands from this, and that was the absolute worst experience. The camp host was watching. He's like, you know, you're gonna have to clean that up now. Yeah, thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah, come here, let me shake your hand. So at any rate, lesson learned. Wear gloves. Don't ever pull those levers prior to taking off the prior to taking off the cap. That's all bad. Anyway, learn from my mistake.